You wouldn't build a house without a foundation, so why try to build a business without one? Grow your contracting business and grow your mind with Growth Mindset Monday.
Hello, and good day. Because some of you are East Coast and some of you are West Coast. Happy Monday. We are almost all the way through the great month of October. Why do I say great month of October? It's my birthday month. In fact, it's my birthday week. I'll put my address down below. You guys can send cake, cookies, any other kind of sweets, because that's my jam. Well, if you're here live with us, you guys know the drill. Drop your name, your business name, and where you're from, and we will give you a shout out. Well, it's been kind of an interesting week, the last week. I know I told you I was going to have a backdrop. Don't worry, I did order it. It just didn't get here in time. So Amazon dropped off the boxes on Sunday, and well, I didn't install it. So we'll get it in by next week. We'll have our studio up and running. We actually have the electrician here, the low voltage guy, running the cables, so we can finally, after 4 weeks, have internet. And I'm not connected to somebody else's Wi-Fi. Shh, don't tell. But what we really want to focus on this week is you guys, right? And more than anything, it's a conversation around your business, which is why we run this training to begin with. Now, again, if you guys are here live with us, go ahead and drop your name, your business name, and where you're from, and we'll make sure that we shout you out. Now, I have a question for you. How many of you have attempted to hire somebody in the last year and they didn't make it more than 30 days? So how many of you have attempted to hire somebody in the last year and they didn't make it past 30 days? Go ahead and drop a me or a hand raise in the comments. Last 30 days, you tried to hire somebody and they didn't make it. So we've got Melissa here, a little shout out from Tucson, Arizona. Congratulations on you guys finally not being over 100 degrees. It's been pretty warm down there. And thank you for the birthday shout out. So Melissa says that she's attempted to hire somebody in the last year and haven't lasted more than 30 days. We got Michael James with Express Home Design. And I have no idea how to say that. Chatakawa. Oh, geez. Butchered that one. He's from New York. We'll leave it with that. We've got Victor Rhino Builders out of Minneapolis. And then Natasha has said that she tried to hire somebody in the last 30 days. They didn't make it very long. And Michael, same thing. Haha, right? And it seems to be a kind of a running joke, this whole hiring process. Now, here's the next question, though. How many of you have found yourself blaming the economy, blaming politics, blaming generation X, Y, Z, whatever we're on now, blaming something out there for the reason that you're not able to hire somebody and get them to stick? What do you think? How many of you? Now, while I'm waiting for your comments, and you can drop another me or a hand raise, right? It's the economy's fault. It's Trump's fault. It's Biden's fault. It's everything around this world's fault. It's the war in Ukraine. It's our school system. It's the lack of parenting, whatever. Go ahead and drop it in your comment section. Now, while you guys are doing that, I'll share a little story for you. 3 weeks ago, I hired my first, in a long time, in-person assistant. And she's our event coordinator. She helps with our clients. And I brought her in, and her first day was the second day of our 2-day workshop. Now, we run all-day workshops every quarter and sometimes on a monthly basis on different topics. Like this Thursday, we'll have a sales workshop that we're helping contractors build out their sales playbook. So she drops in day 2 of this 2-day conference. There's 25 contractors in the room. She doesn't know anything about contractors. She doesn't know anything about who I am and what I'm teaching other than the interview process that we went through. And I just have her show up, right? Now, I sit her in the back of the room. I hand her my cell phone and I say, okay, when I point at you, I need you to press play on the music. That's what I need you to do. And she's like, that's all? I was like, yes, that's all. And then she's like, well, why is that all? I was like, because there's so much going on right now that if I try to explain it to you, I would fail miserably and you would be completely overwhelmed. She's like, okay, totally get it. So for the next 2 hours when we had breaks, she would hit the play button and turn on the music, right? And so we would have music while we were workshopping and writing and sharing and that kind of stuff. And then lunch rolled around. And I said, okay, all I need you to do is one thing. When the lunch shows up, here's the table. Just make sure it's all set up right. She's like, that's it? I was like, yeah, that's it. Cool. So she gets lunch set up, goes off smoothly, no issues. At the end of the day, I'm like, hey, how do you think it went? She's like, I think it went pretty good, but I don't think I had a ton of value. I was like, trust me, you did, right? And so we talked a little bit about this, and then she left. Well, our follow-up appointment was on Monday. And that Monday, I bring her into the office. Now, this was going to be a short week for me because I was only going to be in the office Monday and Tuesday because Wednesday I was going to be in Arizona, and Thursday and Friday, well, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I was going to be in South Carolina. So I bring her in Monday. I'm like, okay, let's talk about all the things that I need you to do. And I went through this entire list, right? Everything from collecting payments for new clients, onboarding new clients, getting their profile set up, collecting personal information, helping me set up workshops, run workshops, make sure all the materials are ordered for the workshops, and I just went through this entire list, and we were going for about 2 hours. 2 hours. And at the end of the 2 hours, I could see the glassed over look on her eyes. You guys know exactly what I'm talking about. She's like, too much information. It's a TMI, different kind of TMI, right? Now, why do you think that was? Well, was it because I wasn't being clear about what I expected from her? Was it because I wasn't being clear about how I expected her to do it? No, it was because I took all of this stuff and literally just shoved it down her throat. Mind you, I've been doing this for 7+ years. She shows up day 2 and I'm like, here, right? And somehow I expected her to know everything that she needed to know and do everything that I needed her to do. How many of you guys have found yourself in that exact situation, right? Whether you do landscaping, you hand them a shovel, you tell them to dig a ditch. Or you're doing roofing, you have them hand them a bundle of shingles, you say, okay, go shingle that roof. Or electrical, or plumbing, or whatever the thing is that you do. We just automatically assume that somebody's going to walk in, whether they're experienced or not, and know exactly what we need them to do and how we need them to do it. So how many of you guys have failed in that, right? I know I have. And that was my failure point. I should say my most recent failure point. And when I was flying on the plane to South Carolina, I realized that, hey, dummy, you were not very clear on what it is that you expected this person to do. And so now all of a sudden, here I am with this really good employee that got completely overwhelmed because I wasn't prepared for what I needed to be prepared for. And that's kind of the crux of the conversation today, right? Would we like to blame the economy, politics, the weather, Generation XYZ, something else with the fact that we can't either find or retain good employees? Sure. Stand in line like everybody else who's doing the exact same thing. Or you could be like the quality contractors who don't have issues hiring, who don't have issues retaining. Now, have you ever asked yourself why? Why do they not have the issues that you seem to have? Well, we'll give a couple of shout outs as we continue the conversation. Michael says, Jamestown's Lakewood, New Jersey. Thank you. Daniel says, good thing this is being recorded. Yes, sir. Daniel's checking in from Noble Custom and Glass. A little late, but we're glad you're here. Michael says that's for a business manager, not a simple employee. Some people need slower guidance, one thing at a time. You're on to something there, Michael, 100%, right? So here's the truth. And this is the hardest thing for me to learn. And it's also the hardest thing for me to understand as I continue to grow my business, right? The truth is you don't struggle to find good workers the way that you think you do. Now, we could talk about the numbers of qualified workers in the space. Yes, I know there's less qualified contractors, less qualified employees. Yes, that number is true. But does that mean that there aren't good ones out there? No, it doesn't. Here's the real issue. The real issue, and this is where if I had a mirror, I would insert the mirror here. I'd be like, the real issue is you. You. And so here's your image right here. I want you to pretend, if you're driving, don't do this. I want you to pretend that you're looking in the mirror, right? Look in the rearview mirror. If you're at your house, look in the mirror in the hallway closet or in the bathroom. Hopefully you're not sitting on the toilet watching this right now, but hey, who am I to judge? But I want you to think for a second, if you were staring at yourself in the mirror, what would you see? What would you see? Now, initially, we all go to the same place. We go to the same place where we're like, oh, my hair's getting a little gray. You know, I got some bags under my eyes, or that beard's coming in nice, right? Very physical qualities or attributes. That's the first thing that we look at. But is that really what we should be looking at? I want you to take a second and dive a little deeper. And when I say the man or the woman in the mirror, I want you to consider who it is that you see. Not physically, but start looking around on the inside. One of the most powerful questions that I was ever presented, and this was in conversation, was, would you want to work for you? It's a really interesting question to ask, right? Because you think about this. From the outside, you're like, I'm the best boss. I offer the best compensation package. I have the best swag. I work the best hours. I offer the best pay, right? We think this stuff, but are you that guy or that girl that nobody wants to work for? And they don't want to work for you. And there's no clear direction, right? There's no clear understanding of what needs to happen. You lose your temper quickly. You don't spend enough time training. You don't spend any time rewarding, right? We can go on down this list. But are you that person? Are you that person that somebody would not want to work for? I want you to think about that as we continue this conversation, okay? Now, one of the books that we hand out, here's a little cheat code for you. One of the books that we hand out for all of our new clients is this one right here. It's called Leadership and Self-Deception. It was written by the Arbinger Institute. And you can see underneath here, it's got a title, Getting Out of the Box. Now, why do they talk about the box, right? Because I want you to think about it this way. If there's a problem with an employee in your business, or there's a problem with the way that a job is done, or there's a problem with one of your sales guys, or there's a problem with your secretary and the way that they're answering the phone, or there's a problem with your vehicle, any problem inside of your business, where do you look first? Where do you point the finger first? Where do you try to find a solution first? See, the problem that most business owners have, and that's including all you contractors, is we think that because Johnny was in charge of the job and Johnny didn't do it right, that's Johnny's fault. Now, you're not wrong, but you're also not right. See, because this is the way you have to think about things. Who put Johnny in that position to begin with? Who gave Johnny the clear roles and responsibilities that he needed? Who made sure that he double-checked to make sure that Johnny was doing the job the right way? Who made sure that there were checklists, policies, procedures, systems to follow to make sure that the job was done right? Who put a system in place to double-check to make sure that Johnny was doing the job right? Right? Who made sure that Johnny was progressing along with performance measurements to make sure that Johnny was the guy that needed to be in charge of the job to begin with? None of us, right? We're always like, Johnny, you idiot. Johnny, you a-hole. Johnny, you insert the blank. I can't believe you messed up on another job. And we think that Johnny's the problem. But the truth is, you staring back at this computer screen, you looking in the mirror right now, you're the problem. Now, I don't want you to take that the wrong way, and I don't want you to take it in a negative light, because here's what I want you to understand. If you can't accept responsibility for a problem, can you ever fix it? Think about it for a minute. If it's your wife's fault that the dishes weren't done, can you fix the problem? No, because it's your wife's fault. If the truck didn't get gassed up the night before, now you got to stop at the gas station, putting you behind. Whose fault is it? right? We can go on down the list here. Now, I get it. Some of you guys are like, well, I do more than my wife, or my wife does more than me. Okay, fine, whatever. I get it, right? We're using this as an example. But I want you to think about this, though. If you can't own the problem, you cannot create the solution. And that's what this whole book is about. So if you have a problem right now with your people, odds are it has less to do with them and more to do with this right here, your leadership and your ability to lead people. Robin, that's a great comment there. I'm never telling the wife she did something wrong. Hey, I've been married, by the way, next year will be 25 years of being married. Trust me, there was a period of time in my life where I blamed my wife, and let's just say it didn't go so well. So yes, you are correct. But listen, your business is your business, and you are the leader of your business. And in order for your business to grow, in order for your business to overcome problems, in order for your business to be more profitable, in order for your business to insert blank, you have to take responsibility for it. Now, don't confuse responsibility with ownership, okay? That doesn't mean that you have to do all the work. Give you a perfect example. Here in this new office, we don't have enough keys to open the front door. So I got to get new keys. And so this weekend, I'm thinking about the keys that I got to get made. And I show up at the office and I'm like, wait a minute. Why do I have to do that? I have an assistant that could do that. So I send her a message, send her a picture of the key. I said, do some research for me. We need to find somebody who can handle this. She calls, I think it was 15 different people. Gets back to me with the one that says they can do it. That is closest. She sends me their address. Cool. Awesome. She had the ownership over finding it. My responsibility as a leader was a clear understanding of what I need you to do and how I need you to do it. Right? Now that's a good example. Now, sometimes it doesn't happen that way. But what are we doing to make sure that we're dealing with that? So listen, I want to go back to the foundation, right? A reality check, if you will. The issue is rarely a shortage of talent. The real problem is that most contractors haven't invested in a few different things. And I've talked about these, but I want to reiterate them. Number one, the right systems and processes. When we onboard a new contractor, we do an assessment, okay? And we always talk about what is your assessment, or what are you doing right now that you're not, or you shouldn't be doing, or what are you not or doing that you shouldn't be doing, right? And so we're constantly gauging this. And so the assessment gives us this ground floor of understanding. I don't care how much money you're generating a year. That's not what my concern is. My concern is, what does your foundation of system and processes look like? And we start at the beginning, building that thing out. If you're going to hire somebody, what are you hiring them to do, and how do you expect them to do it? If that's not clear, don't go hire somebody, because there's a higher likelihood they're going to fail because they don't know what's expected of them. The second thing, the right onboarding and training programs to bring people up to your standards. I get it. People want to live the Google life. You know, they want to have free lunches and nap rooms and, you know, massages and whatever, like, but that's not a reality. Okay. People are willing to work hard, but they're willing to work hard for the right people and the right reasons. There's a cabinet company I work with here locally, and the owner, Wendy, was just in here earlier today, and we were talking about this exact thing. She said, I got a crew that does all our cabinet installs. And I was like, awesome. How did you find them? She's like, I found them on another job. I'm like, great. How did they end up working with you? She's like, we had a great conversation. They were traveling around the country doing multi-family installs. And so I asked them, I was like, do you want to keep traveling the country, or do you want to stay locally and I can keep you guys employed? Well, what do you think they said? Well, they got tired of traveling. They want to spend more time with their families and everything. So she created an environment where they could get what they wanted. This lack of, you know, having to travel all over the country. So local mobility, and she could get what she wanted, which was actually having a crew that knew what they were doing, could get stuff installed accurately, quickly, and move on to the next thing. Right? So that's what we're looking for. Now, the third thing, and this buys into the same thing, right? The right culture and leadership development. The right culture and leadership development. How many of you guys have your core values defined? Like who you are as a company? How many of you use those core values in your hiring and firing process, right? We got Robin here with a comment. Robin says, I was an HR manager for 25 years. My philosophy when hiring somebody was no surprises. That meant making sure they were trained and understood the job. And if they had problems, they felt comfortable. Beautiful. It's great. That's great, right? That's a philosophy now you got to take into this new world. But I want to share a little video for you. Let me see if I can find it here. We talk about communication, right? We talk about making sure that someone understands what it is that we need them to do. Now, I may be dating myself, but you guys have probably seen this movie here. Let's see. Justin, can we bring that up?
Connor!
Who died, Lee?
You!
Detective you?
Not you! You!
Who?
You!
Who?
Do you understand the words that are coming out from my mouth?
Don't nobody understand the words that are coming out of your mouth, man.
So it's a little hard to hear, right? But that's the old Rush Hour movie with Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker. And they're in the middle of fighting the bad guys, right? And they're trying to communicate. And the big frustration is because of the lack of communication. Don't you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? Man, nobody understands the words that are coming out of your mouth, right? And we laugh and it's funny, right? Because one guy's Asian and one guy's African-American. But the truth is, like, that's what happens on the job site. That's what happens in your office. That's what happens every single day with the people that you're working with, right? This lack of communication. And so how is it that we overcome this lack of communication? Well, we learn to communicate properly, right? I'll give you a perfect example. When I was working as a police officer, right? I spent a ton of my years working undercover, SWAT, narcotics, all that fun stuff. Every time we would go out and do an operation, every time we would go out to the field, we would start with something called a briefing. And inside of that briefing, we had what was called an operations plan. What was inside the operations plan? What were we trying to accomplish? How were we going to accomplish it? Who was responsible for what inside of that operation? And then what were we going to do if things went sideways? That was it. What are we doing? How are we doing it? Who's doing what? And when you think about right now, either your day-to-day in the office with your office folks or out in the field with your field folks, how often are you spending time making sure that you're communicating so that everybody's on the same page? At the end of every briefing, we would do something called a brief back. It's exactly what it sounds like. Every person who was assigned a specific role or responsibility had to tell the person who was in charge what their role and responsibility was. And if they didn't understand it, that was their chance to make sure that they understood it. So what's the likelihood of us succeeding in an operation if everybody understands those three things? Think about your business. Think about how much time and energy you're spending making sure that people understand what their role is and how they're expected to accomplish it. What would the likelihood of success be if you did that? Guarantee it would be a whole lot higher. Now, I'm going to bring up books, man. You can audiobook this, but I'm telling you, books are your key to freedom. So Michael Hyatt wrote this book called Your World-Class Assistant, okay? Not a super long book. It's like 120 pages. I picked this up last week. Why did I pick this up? Well, I just hired an assistant. And I've had assistants before, but I was always a crappy boss because I'm very matter of fact in my communication style. Feelings in me, like we're not the best of friends. So I'm more like, hey, this needs to get done. Go get it done. Hey, why didn't you get this thing done? Right? Very matter of fact, but it's not the best communication style. If I'm going to have a world-class assistant for a world-class business, my communication style has to change. So how do I create a world-class assistant? Well, it's by becoming a world-class leader. Catching my drift, right? If you want things to improve in your business, when it comes to your employees, it's your responsibility. It's your responsibility to improve the environment. It's your responsibility to have a clear vision, clear core values, and a clear plan of attack. It's your responsibility to hold people accountable, right? It's your responsibility to reward them when they need to be rewarded, punish them when they need to be punished, right? This is your culture. This is your business. And if you want it to go where you want it to go, 1 million, 5 million, 10 million, 100 million, it will never get there past your ability to lead, period. So if you want a business that succeeds in all aspects, that's your responsibility. But it's your responsibility, first and foremost, to become a better leader. Daniel has a comment here. He says, when you point your finger, your thumb points up back at you, right? So remember, like, look at this. How many fingers I have pointing back at me? Yeah, that's because it's my responsibility, right? So here's the invitation that I have for you guys. Do the man or woman in the mirror test. Go look in a mirror. And once you get past the physical things, look at yourself on the inside as a leader. Where are you coming up short? Where could you improve? What are some things that need to change? And then go and implement those things into your business. I'm going to tell you right now, the reason that there aren't more successful contractors has less to do with the lack of talented employees and more to do with the owner getting in his or her own way. So get out of your way. Become a better leader. Learn to empower your people. Learn to hold them accountable. Learn to reward them. Bring them along with you in your journey to success. All right. You guys know what time it is. It's time for you to go implement some of the things that you learned. Time to get after it. 3, 2, 1. Off you go.